This podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Legend of the Bones. Following in the footsteps of giants, Legend of the Bones is a chimera. A mix of old-school tabletop RPG and dark fantasy storytelling. As its name might suggest, in Legend of the Bones the dice rule. There'll be no rerolls, no fudging the dice, no metacurrency. The roll of the bones will determine the character's destiny, and no one will be spared their fate. None shall escape the destiny of bone. Last time on Legend of the Bones. Having reached the ancient tower of Anglag, in the search of the Hellstone, known as the Eye of Krevik, the companions found that another group had arrived before them, breaking down the door and ransacking the chamber within. On high alert, Beric led the companions up the stairs to the next level. A door blocked the way ahead, and Beric listened, but failed to hear anything beyond. Just as the warrior was about to open the portal, Valen declared that he had an idea. The mage cast the spell Clairvoyance, and was transported to see through the eyes of someone on the other side of the door. There, Valen saw a group of men belonging to the Brethren of Purifying Light. It was apparent that one of them had seen the companions approach, as their leader commanded his men to ready their weapons. And when the leader turned to the man through whose eyes Valen saw, Valen recognized the man's face, except that now the man's eyes had been put out. In a flashback, we return to the very start of our story, the day of the shipwreck. We heard of Valen being sent by his master, Amos ap Howard, to prepare healing salves in the laboratory, and how at that time the Brethren of the Purifying Light attacked the tower in search of the Hellstone in Amos's keeping. After burning Amos alive, Valen was discovered. A chase followed, but the mage was caught and bound to a stake to drown in the sea by some of the Brethren, led by the not yet blind man at Anglag. Back in the present, Jenna confirmed that the man whose eyes had been put out was none other than Adric, the cleric who betrayed her to Nadra's acolytes in Kerudu. Talion suggested that he could trick the Brethren into believing that the companions shared their purpose, and so casting the spell Poetic Prose did just that. Believing the companions were indeed allies, Adric commanded the door to be opened, whereupon Beric rushed in, leading the charge to attack. Chapter 42, Part 1, Day 41, Early Evening. Party status: Beric, 37 out of 37 hit points. Lena, 26 out of 26 hit points. Valen, 17 out of 17 hit points. Talion, 24 out of 24 hit points. Canute, 31 out of 31 hit points. Jenna, 12 out of 12 hit points. Arn, 18 out of 18 hit points. Spells available: Valen has memorized Push, Shield, Soothe, and Revive. Talion has memorized Resolve and Pitch. Lena can pray for 2 first-level miracles and 2 second-level miracles. Jenna can pray for 1 first-level miracle. The final rays of sunlight streamed through the western arrow slit, casting an orange-yellow brilliance upon the wall opposite and illuminating the room. Beyond, the distant roar of waves could be heard crashing on the rocks, the sound intermingling with the chatter of hundreds of seabirds settling to roost. Then, almost suddenly, the golden glow faded, giving way to the soft hues of twilight, and the chamber was veiled in semi-gloom. Waiting upon the stairs, Jenna gripped the handle of her new warhammer, her palms damp with sweat against the leather-bound handle. Its weight felt unfamiliar, for she had never before wielded a proper weapon, let alone killed a man. She was uncertain if she could do it. Her stomach churned, and she felt a knot. So many nights she had dreamt of confronting Adric, of finding justice. Or was it simply that she desired revenge? She knew not. She took a deep breath to steady her nerves. She no longer feared death. Her ordeal at Carodu had changed that in her. But seeing him again, after everything that had happened, and the power that he had held over her, the thought sickened her to the core.
Mithra,
she whispered, touching her holy symbol.
Give me strength, and let my hand be thy justice.
Well met, friend.
Adric's muffled voice sounded from behind the door, and presently the door's latch clanked, and it began to open. Suddenly, before she knew it, Beric had barged the door. There were shouts, and without thinking, her feet carried her swiftly up and through the opening. Dramatis Personae. Jenna. Jenna is a human cleric, level 2. She is 20 years old, standing at 5'4" and weighing 120 pounds. Her raven hair contrasts sharply against her pale skin and blue eyes, giving her a striking appearance. She is curious and naturally open, with a subtle charm which others are drawn to. But her recent experiences have left her less trusting and more cynical. Jenna is from the city of Aethowich, in the northern realm of Bernica. She is an only child, and her father, a sea trader, was often absent. But after her mother passed, delivering a stillborn son, the rest of Jenna's childhood was spent on her father's ship, travelling far and wide to distant shores. It was several years later, during a winter sojourn in Powan Moor, that Jenna first discovered her calling. Recognising that their nomadic life had done little for his daughter's education, Jenna's father arranged for her to be taught at the temple in Porthcullen. Surrounded by people whose lives were devoted to the attainment of wisdom, Jenna flourished, finding solace in the temple's community. For during the years travelling with her father, she had met many people, but made few friends. When Jenna told her father of her hope of entering the priesthood, he was at first reluctant. But seeing how earnest she was in this wish, he relented and gave his blessing. After all, life on the Whale Road was hard, and what father desires not to see his daughter safe and happy? Taking her vows, Jenna was put under the tutelage of Brother Ioan, a diffident man in his late 20s. Ioan diligently introduced the young novitiate to the scriptures and parables of the church, though Jenna found him to be pedantic and ever encouraging a literal interpretation, something she found at odds with the ethos of others in the clergy. A year or so into her training, Ioan explained that it was customary for novitiates to undertake a pilgrimage or other such endeavour beyond the confines of the temple, and that he knew a man who had an opportunity for Jenna to do just that. And so it was, in the temple's gardens, Jenna was introduced to the cleric, Reynard of Harburg, and his friend, a man called Adric. Reynard explained that he and Adric were missionaries, dedicated to bringing the word of the Nine to communities which still hung on to their pagan beliefs. He told her that they were bound for the monastery of Innisgwyn, after which Adric needed a companion to help him convert an isolated community living at a place called Carodu, and that Ioan had suggested she, Jenna, deserved the opportunity to give such service to the Nine. Jon pressed that she should accept. He told her it was a great honour, and one which would be good for her spiritual growth. But Jenna only half heard that which had been said. Her attention had been distracted by Adric. Rarely had she seen a man as handsome as he, and when she glanced in his direction, he held her gaze and smiled warmly. 2 weeks later, having chartered a longship, they arrived at the blessed Isle of Innisgrin. Reynard and Adric were greeted enthusiastically by the abbot, a small, unctuous man named Wiglaf, and the trio spoke at length in private, while Jenna was given leave to make use of the great library. The young novitiate was in awe at the thousands of books and manuscripts, and she knew then that there was far more wisdom to learn than that which Jon could possibly teach her. Jenna and Adric left on the morning tide, sailing across the Bay of Sorrow to Porthain, and after resupplying at the town, the pair continued their journey on foot, making their way over barren hills blanketed with bracken, heather and gorse. Adric all the while had been a genial companion. He asked Jenna about her homeland, her family, and how she came to join the church. He wanted to know all about her, what made her happy and what she feared, her hopes and dreams. Jenna was flattered by Adric's attention, and as the days passed, Jenna began to feel that for the first time she had made a genuine friend, and maybe more. 3 days after leaving Innisgrin, they came to the foot of a hill, upon whose peak stood an ancient and dilapidated fort.
That is Caerleon.
Adric explained.
We shall camp here tonight, and on the morrow we shall go forth and preach the word.
The golden sun was setting in the west, casting its last light upon their faces, like rays of hope and faith. Despite this, Jenna could not help but feel apprehensive, scared even. Something did not feel right, and she suddenly had the desire to turn back and never see this place again.
I'm afraid.
She admitted, her voice wavering.
I do not. I cannot.
Adric turned to her.
Jenna,
His voice was tender.
do you trust me?
Jenna looked into the cleric's eyes, and she immediately felt calmer, more centered. She had known him for such little time, yet he had shown her nothing but kindness and warmth. And dare she say,
I trust you.
just then she felt his fingers gently brush against her own. She let out a small gasp and felt her blood quicken as he hesitantly explored until their fingers slipped together. Adric brought his other hand up and gently stroked her cheek with the back of his hand.
Then trust that I will keep you safe.
He leaned in, and his lips gently grazed against hers. Then, as they opened themselves, they slid down, wrapped in each other's arms, as the light began to fade. Entering combat. Okay, Talia's ruse may have worked, but this is going to be one tough fight. Not only is Adric a 5th level cleric with 23 hit points, he has a number of trained followers with him. Valen saw 5 men plus Adric, but there are more members of the Brethren up on the next level. I'm going to roll a d6 to see how many. Another 3. That's kind of appropriate, given the Brethren believe they act in the service of the 9. I am going to rule that the additional 3 Brethren will join the fight after 3 rounds, so the companions need to eliminate at least 2 of the initial enemies before then, or be outnumbered. Of the initial 5, 1 will be a second level cleric with 11 hit points, and the others will be second level fighters with 14 hit points. Of the 3 brethren on the floor above, 2 will be second level fighters as the others, but 1 will be a 4th level fighter with 23 hit points. All the brethren are wearing mail and carry shields, giving them an ascending armor class of 15. With Adric's Miracle of Bless, attack bonuses range from +1 to +4, and damage bonuses from +1 to +2. In addition, I'm going to rule that Adric has already spent his other second level miracle by praying for Mind Sight to counter his blindness, meaning that he has just 2 first level miracles remaining. Also, as these men are fanatics, I will not roll against morale. They will fight to the death. Finally, Talian's ruse gives the party the element of surprise, meaning that they will get a free attack in the first round. Right then, let's get to it. Round 1. No initiative as the brethren are surprised. Usually, spellcasting and missile attacks will take precedence, but given the circumstances, for this round the order will be different. Having barged in, Beric charges the first brethren he sees, one of the fighters. With bonuses, the warrior will need an 11 or more to land a blow. A 4. Somehow, his enemy manages to get his shield up just in time. Canute is hot on Beric's heels. He sees Adric and charges the cleric. The Skane needs an 11 or more. A 5. Canute misjudges the strike, and his blade glances harmlessly off Adric's mail. Not a great start for the party. Talion enters next, stepping to one side. He already has an arrow on his bowstring. He shoots at one of the fighters. With close range, the bard needs an 11 or more. A 13, that's more like it. Talion's arrow thumps into the man's shoulder for 3 points of damage. Lena enters right behind Talion. The cleric was already praying for the second level miracle, Hold Person, targeting 1d4 of the brethren. Given we are in a combat situation, I'm going to apply a -2 penalty to the roll, given the haste in which she needs to pray. Lena will therefore need a 15 or less for her prayer to be answered. A 4. Her conviction was never in doubt.
Mithra, Lady of Wisdom, I implore thee, deliver thy divine justice. Stay the hands of these sinners.
Rolling a d4 to see how many brethren are affected. A 4. Lena's piety has been rewarded. For expediency, I'm going to roll which of the brethren are affected off mic, as well as their saving throws. Okay, Adric passed his save, the other cleric failed, as did 2 of the fighters. With 3 of the brethren paralysed for 9 turns, and therefore out of the fight, the companions suddenly have a big advantage. Let's hope it's enough. Jenna is next through the door. Given Valen's report, and hearing Adric's voice, she was anticipating the leader would be her nemesis. Even with his eyes missing, Adric is still handsome, and the memory of the tenderness they shared checks Jenna for a moment. But then, her heart hardens at the thought of what he did, and all she desires is revenge. Adric, through the miracle of Mind Sight, sees her and exclaims,
Jenna, how?
Jenna charges forward, brandishing her new warhammer. She needs a 15 or more. A 19! For 6 points of damage. Jenna unleashes a furious assault, which Adric is powerless to resist. Her warhammer thumps into the cleric's shoulder. Valen comes next. The mage will cast Push against Adric. Valen will need a 17 or less for his casting roll. A 14. Valen unleashes an invisible force, pushing the injured Adric back 4 yards, whereupon his body slams into a workbench for 1 point of damage. There is also a 1 in 3 chance that Adric will be knocked prone. A 5. No, he stays on his feet. Finally, Arn enters the chamber and immediately charges one of the unparalysed fighters. The Skane warrior will need 14 or more to get past the man's defences. A 16 is a hit for 5 points of damage as he skewers the man's thigh with his spear. That was a great start for the party, but can they maintain the momentum? Let's find out. Round 2. Initiative, the Brethren. A 2, the Party. A 4. Outnumbering the enemy, the party presses the attack. With close combat inevitable, Valen will attempt to cast Shield upon himself. The mage will need a 17 or less for his casting roll. An 11. Valen speaks the incantation.
Gwynid, Gwyn, Velavisku.
And a translucent barrier forms around his body. Talion nocks another arrow and once again targets the fighter engaged with Beric. But with a 10, his arrow glances harmlessly off the man's helmet. Just as this happens, Beric swings Calas Cleda. But a 7 means the Brethren fighter easily parries with his shield. Canute brings his sword down towards Adric. A 5. Despite being outnumbered, Adric is battle-hardened and instinctively turns the blade with his warhammer. Lena also attempts to find weakness in Adric's defences. She needs a 14 or more to hit. A 13. Once again, Adric easily knocks Lena's warhammer aside with his own. Jenna tries to attack Adric. She needs a 15 or more. A 1! As the cleric raises her warhammer to strike, Adric pushes her with his shield. Jenna stumbles and falls to the ground. She will miss her next turn. That was a poor round for the party, and now the Brethren get to make their first attacks. First up, Adric will target one of Canute, Lena or Jenna. It's Jenna. That does make sense thematically. Having pushed the young woman to the ground with his shield, Adric swings his warhammer down. The cleric will need a 9 or more. A 6. Jenna rolls to the side just at the last moment, leaving Adric's warhammer to clang against the floor. The Brethren engaged with Beric will counter against the big warrior. He will need a 13 or more to hit. A 15 for 3 points of damage as the man's sword strikes Beric on the upper right arm. The warrior's mail shirt takes the worst of the blow, but Beric feels a trickle of blood run down his arm. The Brethren engaged with Arn swings his sword against the Skarne. He too will need a 13 or more. But with a 6, Arn parries with his shield. Round 3. This will be the last round before the Brethren reinforcements arrive and even out the fight. Initiative, the Brethren. A 4, the party. A 6, the companions keep the pressure up. Talia knocks another arrow and shoots at the Brethren engaged with Beric. A 17 is a hit for 6 points of damage as his arrow thumps into the man's chest and pushing him back. Seeing the man badly wounded, Beric tries to land a killing blow. A 15 is a hit. No need to roll damage. The big warrior swings Calas Cleda up in a sweeping arc. The blade bites deep into the man's groin, severing his genitals and the femoral artery, which ruptures in a fountain of blood. The man screams in agony before falling to the ground and dying momentarily from shock and blood loss. Having been twice denied, Canute attacks Adric once more. But with a 10, the cleric once again frustrates the Skarne warrior, parrying the strike with his shield. Lena also tries to deal a blow to the cleric. A 12 is not enough, and Adric parries with his warhammer. Jenna misses her turn as she scrambles to her feet. With his shield spell in effect, Valen goes to support Arn. A 9. The mage is no warrior, and the Brethren fighter easily turns Valen's bronze staff aside. Arn thrusts his spear towards his enemy. A 10. His jab comes up short. Now the Brethren's attacks. Adric will attack. It's Jenna again. It would seem he is determined to end the woman's life. Adric needs a 9 or more. A 17 is a hit for 7 points of damage. Oof. Adric sweeps his warhammer round, smashing into Jenna's left side. There is a sickening crunch as the strike fractures several ribs. She cries out, staggering to right herself under the force of the blow. The Brethren fighter, engaged with Arn and Valen, counters. He will attack Arn, needing a 14 to hit. A 19 is a hit for 7 points of damage as the blade slashes Arn across the chest, breaking open the rings of his mail. His blood mists in the air. At that moment, 3 more brethren come running down the stairs. They are fresh and eager for battle. Round 4. Initiative. The brethren. A 2. The party. A 6. Talion turns his bow at the first man coming downstairs. An 11 is hit for. Just 1 point of damage as the arrow grazes the man's neck. Beric charges the same man. This is the 4th level fighter. The big warrior needs an 11 or more. A 12 is a hit for. 4 points of damage as Calas Cleda slashes the man's thigh. Canute, who has so far been frustrated in this fight, tries once again to land a blow on Adric. But a 6 sees the Skarne, still unable to find an opening, as his blade is made impotent by Adric's shield. Lena also attacks the Brethren Cleric. A 19 is a hit for 5 points of damage. As Adric is parrying Canute's strike with his shield, Lena takes advantage of the opening and brings her warhammer down to smash into Adric's chest, knocking the man back. Jenna too sees an opportunity, following Lena's lead. A 15 is also a hit for 5 points of damage as her warhammer thumps into Adric's half-turned back. The Brethren Cleric is down to just 6 hit points. Valen continues to support Arn. A 1! As the mage attempts to strike with his staff, the Brethren fighter parries with his blade, then, with a skillful twist of his wrist, manages to disarm the mage, and the staff clatters away. Valen will miss his next turn. Arn thrusts his spear towards the Brethren fighter once more. The Skarne needs a 14 or more. A 16 for 3 points of damage. Now for the Brethren's attacks. Adric rounds on. It's Jenna again. Man, he really wants the young cleric dead. Adric will need a 9 or more. But with a 6, Jenna dodges the strike. The Brethren engaged with Arn and Valen will target Arn again. He will need a 13 or more. An 8. Arn blocks the incoming blow with his shield. The fighter engaged with Beric attempts to strike. As a 4th level fighter, he will need an 11 or more. A 14 is a hit for 8 points of damage. The man's sword splits open the rings of Beric's mail and bites deep into the warrior's side. Beric roars in pain as his blood splatters on the floor. The other 2 men, fresh to the fight, see Adric outnumbered and badly wounded, and charge at Canute and Lena respectively. Whilst the pair are fighters and not rogues, I'm still going to award a +3 to their attacks this round, as both Canute and Lena are focused on Adric. Both will need 10s or more to hit. I have 2 d20s in my hand. Here are the rolls. Double 19s! The first slams his blade into Canute's back for 4 points of damage. The Skarne's mail holds, but the impact still causes his skin to split. The second strikes Lena in the side for 5 points of damage. The cleric's mail also holds, but she feels a crack as one of her ribs fractures. Round 5. Initiative. The Brethren. A 3. The party. A 1. With the arrival of reinforcements, the Brethren fight back with renewed vigour. Adric is badly wounded and decides to pray to be healed. As with Lena's earlier prayer, I am going to apply a -2 to Adric's wisdom check, given that he is in combat. The cleric will need a 14 or less for his prayer to be answered. A 13.
Soland, giver of life, bind thy servant's wounds that I may do thy will.
Adric is healed for 5 hit points. The Brethren engaged with Arn counters against the Skarne. A 14 is a hit for 5 points of damage. The man strikes low, slashing Arn across the thigh. Beric's enemy presses the attack. But with a 12, the big man blocks the blow with his shield. The Brethren fighters attack Canute and Lena again. Both need 13s or more. But a 2 and a 9 mean the companions are now able to defend with their shields. Talion knocks another arrow and aims for the man who has just attacked Lena. A 3. The bard cannot get a clear shot without risk hitting the cleric. Beric tries to retaliate against his enemy. An 18 is a hit for 9 points of damage. The warrior brings his sword down in an overhead strike, slamming the blade into the man's shoulder. The rings of his mail are split open, and blood sprays from the wound. Canute turns his attention away from Adric to engage the man that attacked him from behind. He swings his sword. A 3. Canute's strike finds nothing but the limewood shield. Lena, not wanting to leave Jenna to face Adric alone, continues to fight the cleric. A 17 is hit for 3 points of damage. Lena brings her warhammer down on Adric's right forearm. There is a crunching sound as bone splinters. Jenna, determined to exact her revenge, also tries to land a blow against Adric. A 15 is hit for 1 point of damage as her warhammer glances off the side of his head, opening a cut on his temple. Having been disarmed, Valen will miss his turn. Arn once again tries to dispatch his enemy. A 17 is hit for 4 points of damage. The Skarne thrusts his spear forward into the man's shoulder, the spear tip jarring against bone. Round 6. This battle hangs in the balance. The companions are tired, as are some of the brethren, and all the companions except Valen and Talion have been injured. I'm not sure they are all going to survive. They need to win the initiative and take down some of the enemy. Let's find out. Initiative. The brethren. A 4. The party. A 2. Once again, Adric will pray to be healed. He needs a 14 or less for his prayer to be answered. An 11. The cleric is healed for 7 hit points. The experienced fighter swings his sword at Beric. A 15 is hit for 7 points of damage. The man's skill is considerable. He feints, catching the warrior off guard, before slamming his blade down on the warrior's shoulder. Beric's mail holds, but the impact sends pain down the big man's body. The brethren attacking Canute makes a strike. A 17 is hit for 3 points of damage as the blade slices the Skarne across the thigh. The other man once again will attack Lena, but a 6 means the cleric blocks the incoming strike with her shield. The final brethren, who is badly wounded and in a bitter fight with Arna, desperately attacks. A 7. The man's wounds and fatigue are making him slow, and Arn has no trouble blocking with his shield. Talion once again tries to get a shot on the man attacking Lena. An 8. The bard looses the arrow, but the man moves at the last moment, and it clatters harmlessly off the wall. Beric tries to find a way past his enemy's defences. A 15 is a hit for 9 points of damage. The warrior makes a high strike, and his sword comes down on the exposed flesh at the base of the neck. There is a splatter of blood, and the man cries out. Canute makes an overhead strike at his enemy. A 16 is hit for 8 points of damage. The man gets his shield up, but the force of the blow splinters the limewood, before the sword slices down the man's face from forehead to chin, destroying his left eye in the process. The man staggers back, screaming, his face a red ruin, but somehow he stays on his feet. Lena swings her warhammer again at Adric. An 8. The brethren cleric this time gets his shield up to take the blow. Jenna is determined to kill Adric or die trying. The young woman swings her warhammer again. A 17 is hit for 6 points of damage. Jenna once again strikes Adric on the same side of the head. There is a crunching sound as his jaw is dislocated. Blood and several teeth spurt from his mouth as red begins to cascade down his neck and chest. Valen, seeing Lena under pressure, charges the brethren fighter attacking her. A 9. The man parries the mage's strike with his shield. Arn sees his enemy weakened and badly injured. He goes in for the killing blow. A 16 is hit for 5 points of damage. Arn thrusts his spear forward, taking the man in the throat. There is a spray of blood, and the man makes a strangled mewing sound before falling dead at the Skarne's feet. Might that kill turn the tide of this fight? There's only one way to find out. Round 7. Initiative. The Brethren. A 5. The Party. A 3. Adric, unable to pray for any more miracles, blood running down his neck, wants to make Jenna pay. He swings his warhammer at her head. But with an 8, Jenna dodges the strike. The experienced fighter sees Beric beginning to slow. A 19 is hit for 10 points of damage. Seeing an opening, the man stabs forward with his sword. The blade breaks open the rings of Beric's mail and slides into the warrior's abdomen. Beric cries out as blood pumps from the grievous wound. Beric is in real trouble. He has just 9 hit points remaining, so another hit like that will kill him. The Brethren, attacking Lena, swings his sword again at the cleric. A 15 is a hit for 8 points of damage. The man brings his sword around towards Lena's head. She brings up her shield, just tipping the blade, causing the flat to collide with the side of her face. Pain shoots through her entire head. She staggers to one side, momentarily stunned. Lena is down to 14 hit points. The Brethren, engaged with Canute, makes an attack. But an 8 means that despite his fatigue, the Skade blocks the strike with his shield. The companions really need some luck now. Talion targets the Brethren attacking Lena. A 1! Oh no, that's a fumble. Now I'm going to rule that there is a 3 in 6 chance that this means he hits Lena. Here is the roll. A 1! Lena will take 2 points of damage. Just as the bard looses the arrow, the bowstring snaps under the force, causing the arrow to fly askew, slicing past Lena's thigh. Talion will miss his next turn as he restrings the bow. Beric, bleeding from many wounds, makes a desperate attempt to kill his enemy. The two men have torn chunks out of each other, and the Brethren fighter is also badly wounded. Can Beric end it? Not with a 9, as the big man swipes feebly at air. Canute has struggled to make headway against his enemy. He swings his sword again. A 5. The Brethren turns Canute's blade away with his own. Lena is also badly wounded. She can no longer aid Jenna. She turns her attack towards the Brethren fighter. A 5. The man anticipates the strike and blocks the cleric's warhammer with his shield. Valen also tries to take down the man attacking the woman he loves. He swings his bronze staff towards the man's head. A 6. The Brethren dodges to the side at the last moment. Jenna can see Adric's death is near. She attacks. A 14 is close, but not enough, as her warhammer glances off the Brethren cleric's mail. Having dispatched his enemy, Arn charges at the Brethren engaged with his lord. A 16 is a hit for 6 points of damage. The man turns to face the incoming attack, but he is exposed, having blocked Canute's last strike. Arn thrusts his spear forward. Mail rings split as the spearhead drives into the Brethren's abdomen. The man spews forth blood as he is impaled, before collapsing on the floor. Round 8. Initiative. The Brethren. A 5. The Party. A 2. Adric can see this battle has turned against the Brethren, and that his death is inevitable, but he is determined to take Jenna with him. He makes one desperate final attempt to slay the young woman. A 6. In his fury, Adric's attack is clumsy, and Jenna easily evades it. Beric's enemy likewise is near death, but finds the strength for an attack. A 14 is a hit! Beric has just 9 hit points remaining, so this damage roll could see our warrior fall. It's all down to the dice gods. Here we go. That's 5 points in total. The man brings his sword up from a low guard, slashing Beric across the inner thighs, splattering blood. Beric is down to just 4 hit points. The Brethren fighter, engaged with Lena, attacks once more. But with a 6, Lena takes the strike on her shield as she prepares to counter. Now for the party's attacks. If the rolls go in their favour, this may be the final round. Talion misses his turn as he restrings his bow. Beric can hardly move, as he pants heavily. The toll of his injuries and the fatigue have worn the big man down. Still, he brings his sword up. But an 8 means there's no power or accuracy in his strike. and he swipes impotently at air. Seeing Beric heavily wounded, Canute moves to assist his cousin. A 4. The Skarne cannot get there in time. Having blocked the incoming attack, Lena brings her warhammer round against her enemy. A 19 is a hit for 7 points of damage as her strike smashes into the man's head, fracturing his eye socket. Blood streams down the man's face as he staggers from the impact. Valen likewise jabs with his staff. A 16 is hit for 4 points of damage. The mage hits the man square in the stomach, causing him to bend double and vomit upon the floor. Jenna knows it's her or Adric. She strikes again. A 12. Adric weakly raises his shield, but it's just enough to block. Arn, seeing Jenna fight so valiantly, is reminded of his dead lover, Yora. He runs to support her. An 18 is a hit for 7 points of damage as Arn skewers the cleric in the side. Adric's legs buckle. He falls to his knees, but he still may have one final wickedness in him. Round 9. Surely this will be the final round, but who will fall? Everything hangs on this next initiative roll. The Brethren. A 1. The party. A 2. Talion knocks an arrow upon the new string, targeting the man engaged with Lena and Valen. A 15. No need to roll damage. As the man straightens up, Talion looses the arrow, which strikes the man in the eye, killing him instantly. Beric's enemy likewise has a single hit point remaining. A 16. No need to roll damage. The big man staggers and falls to one knee. The Brethren fighter sees an opportunity for a killing blow. He raises his sword above his head, but Beric isn't done. He lets go of Callus Cledder and his shield, and drawing his dagger, pushes himself upwards and forward, plunging his blade into his enemy's stomach. The man's eyes widen and blood spurts from his mouth, splattering over Beric's face. Then, with all his strength, the warrior rips the dagger upwards, opening the man's abdomen, whose guts and viscera slide out onto the floor. The man holds on to Beric for a few moments, his body stiff with the pain, before he collapses among his entrails. Jenna, seeing her vengeance nigh, raises her warhammer. A 15 is a hit for 4 points of damage. Adric's hollow eye sockets look up at Jenna. He knows it's over. He opens his arms wide in acceptance.
Do it.
Jenna strikes down with all her might. The warhammer smashes into Adric's face, caving in his skull, splattering blood and brain upon the wall. The battle is over. Thank you for listening to Legend of the Bones. I hope you've enjoyed the show. As this was a slightly longer episode, I'll keep things brief. As always, where would I be without my amazing cast of voice talent? Returning in the role of Adric is Jordan Carmichael. Jordan is a cast member and DM of Modified Role, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. Also returning, playing the role of Jenna, is Fiona K.T. Howard. Fiona is an actor and improviser, as well as the host of the What Am I Rolling and the DM Book Club podcasts. My thanks to you both. The show is so much richer for your contributions. I'll put these wonderful folks' links in the show notes. You can also help by liking or reposting new episode announcements, or by recommending the show online or to a friend. You really can't beat the power of word of mouth. I would also love to know what you think of the show, and I do respond to every message I receive. So with that in mind, you can contact me on X at LegendBones, Blue Sky at LegendBones, Mastodon at LegendBones at ttrpg-hangout.social, Instagram at LegendOfTheBones, email at legendofthebones@gmail.com, or go to legendofthebones.blogspot.com for show notes, house rules, character profiles, art, maps and more. Join me next time to find out what awaits our adventurers as the bones decide their fate. None shall escape the destiny of Bone.
Looking for a new podcast? Come escape with Dice Company, a D&D adventure where 4 unlikely friends battle an evil empire. We've got epic storytelling,
Time for a new life, maybe a new name to go with his new face.
thrilling fights,
What he'd like to do is kick this guy in his zombie balls.
terrible teamwork,
If you want to do it, you can do it yourself.
and an extremely literal automaton.
For the mushrooms to work, they must be passed through a reindeer, and you must drink their urine.
That's Dice Company, available wherever you get your kicks.